Why are we going to a disco? Are we looking for a monitor cyborg?
Nah, just a guy I heard of. A pretty good fighter named DJ.
Street fighters turning terrorists? That's ridiculous. There's no way he can ever become a criminal. Ken is not a terrorist.
I'll let Ryu and Ken fulfill their destinies by staging the fight they've been longing for.
Ryu, I'm getting tired of waiting.
This walking mountain of muscle is called Sagat. He's a champion Muay Thai fighter and is considered a national hero in Thailand. Contestant number 2 is Balrog, whose penchant for violent behavior got him permanently banned from boxing. From Spain, we have Vega, savage, ruthless, and a card-carrying psychopath.
Hey, what's going on, you guys? Your boy EsperReview back for another video, and this video is going to be part of my favorite fighting animes of all time segment. And let me just say that last week's segment got such a good reception. I'm coming back, and I'm going to continue to do this session, favorite fighting animes of all time. And this week we got Street Fighter 2, the animated movie. Yes, the classic, the legendary Street Fighter 2, the animated movie that hit so big in the US and hit so big in Japan. It's one of the best video game adapted into an anime movie. It's like one of the best, in my opinion. Because when I was an adolescent, man, and I was a big fan of the game Street Fighter 2, and you know, experiencing something like that for the first time, man, it was just so refreshing to get a take on all the characters up in this this anime, man. Because let's just face it, like up in the video game, we really didn't know who was on what side. We didn't know who was on the good side or on the bad side. We really didn't know about the personalities of the characters that much. You know, we only got like little vague text, and some of them had like mixed pronunciations and misprints on the text, like when Ryu says, "In order to beat me, you must defeat Shenlong," which was all wrong. But up in the animated movie, man, it's like everything is explained perfect, and we get a gist of like all the characters and what they're gonna be like, the different paths that they take in good or evil, the different sides, all the rivalries are explained. And later on in the installments, it seems like they adapted and they taken that story from this movie and applied it to the video game. So you know, we pretty much know from a standpoint where all these characters are at now, especially up in the later installments like Street Fighter 4, Super Street Fighter 4, Super Street Fighter 4 Peanut Butter, Super Street Fighter 4 Bologna, and all those other installments that Capcom keeps on shoving down our throats, we know. But let me just get started on Street Fighter 2, the animated movie. It's one of my favorite movies, man. Hit so big up in the US, it was very successful. I don't know why, for some reason, people seem to have this confused with being a sequel to that movie that should not come out of my mouth, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Street Fighter the movie, the live action movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme, you know, with his flash kicker. You know, that guy that's not really from America, but some reason they have him playing Gal. Yeah, I think you guys probably forgot about that. It's not worth mentioning. Let's just throw that up in the garbage like we did with Double Dragon and all those other failures of live action, and Dragon Ball Evolution. You know, just those other adaptations that were poorly written and poorly, like, cinematography. I can't even say the word, but let's just throw it in the garbage. But yeah, don't confuse that with a sequel. This is based off of Street Fighter 2, the video game. That's what you guys have to understand. It's Street Fighter 2, the video game. Now, the reason why I say this anime right here gives us a gist of all like the different personalities and the different paths that they take, man, because at first, at the beginning of the movie, from jump, you get a scene with Ryu and Sagat fighting, It's an awesome scene, very dark, a very dark approach to what the game has to offer, because in the game they have more daytime levels than nighttime levels. At least up in Street Fighter 2, the original. I think in Turbo they had a couple of night levels. But man, it's like a different aspect. It's like a different approach to me, because they're fighting. We're not used to seeing them do all those moves, for one, because in the game you only have certain inputs up in Street Fighter. Like, Street Fighter has always been a game where you're limited in martial arts moves, and you have more specials than you have like actual moves like flips and different kicks. Up in the intro, you get to see Ryu and Sagat doing all kinds of moves. You get to see Ryu display like martial arts where he's doing flip kicks, like he flips off of Sagat's chest. Sagat is doing more flying Muay Thai kicks. Everything is just dark and epic looking. Lightning, rain, moves flying everywhere, specials flying everywhere. The first move that we get a chance to see, I want to say, is the Tiger Claw, but I don't think it's a Tiger Claw, because I've seen this move done up in Super Street Fighter 4, and they call it something else. Forgive me for not remembering the name, but I forgot what it's called. But yeah, the move where it shows Sagat throwing like this blast at Ryu, you're like, oh shit, what the fuck? Like, that shit was awesome. You know, especially, you know, since I was like 7 or 8 around the time that the anime movie came out, and I saw it with like one of my friends. It was great. It was great, man. It was like, come on now. This has to be some form of nostalgia for you guys, man, because when do we get a chance to see some of our favorite video game characters up in an animated movie like this? Street Fighter would have to be my first adapted anime movie, man. And we also got a chance to see Destroy Yukin done in animated form, and we got to see the impact of what it left. We got to see how characters were scarred, why they are where they're at, why they're good and why they're evil. We got a chance to see why Cigar has that legendary scar on his chest because of Ryu. And man, the way they showed that shit with Ryu, he would coil up his arm and he would kind of like harness that energy, and you would hear that sweet pchoom, that sound, man. That was so fucking epic. Oh my god, man. I can't tell you how many times my mom told me to sit my ass down when I got up, like, out of excitement. I think it took me 2 days to fully watch that movie, because I had to cut it off because I was just so riled up when I saw it. You know, I chanted those moves out a lot. But yeah, Street Fighter 2 did a good job with the screen time for all the characters up in the roster of Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter Turbo. I think they featured all of them. And the main characters would have to be Ryu and Ken, because they get the most screen time. There are so many cutbacks between those two characters. You get a chance to see what Ryu's doing, and you also get a chance to see what Ken is doing, who I was interested in the most. Because I always wondered about the relationship that Ken had with Ryu, because we know that they have the same fighting style up in the game. They have the same gi. They have the same stance, and they also have the same similar specials, except they're done differently. Like, and I think they have different key levels too. So I wanted to see how that backstory would play out up in this animated series. Why did I say series? But movie, and I think they did it very professionally. Everything was pretty much explained perfectly for me, and especially the history on the dojo that they went to. You know, we know that they went to the same dojo for years, and they grew up together, and that's why they have this big bond together, man. That's why they have a good friendship. Now let me get started on Ryu. Now, up in the game, we really didn't know that Ryu was how he was up in the animated movie, because in the game we know that he loves to fight a lot. We know that he's always going to be the main protagonist. We know that he's going to be in any Capcom representative game that's going to be a crossover, like Capcom versus Marvel, Capcom versus SNK, Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and we know that he's going to be the main protagonist. But we just didn't know about his full backstory and what he was really like, if he was in animated form or hell, even a real person. Now, the anime pretty much displays that Ryu is a vagabond. Now, a vagabond would have to be a person that doesn't really have a home. Wherever he lays his bag down is his home, basically. And we know that Ryu loves to fight, but in the movie, it shows that he has an appetite for fighting that will not be satiated whatsoever, because he's always on the move looking for a fighter that he can get a challenge from. You know, that's how he knows people, through their fists. He says, you know, I pretty much know what a person like through their fist and what they have to offer, like in fighting. And he also says a line that I like a lot from the Street Fighter 4. He says the answer lies in the heart of battle. So he's looking for a specific answer in fighting. We know that. And the guy is very infamous up in the Street Fighter 2 anime because they're always looking for him. Bison always has like some kind of spy robot monitoring his every move. And his name gets mentioned by some other characters too. His name gets mentioned by T-Hawk. And his name gets mentioned by Fei Long. You know, Fei Long really didn't know what he was, who he was. But for some reason, it's like people don't really know what Ryu looks like, especially when they're right there in front of him. You know, he has like an average look. Looks like a very humble guy who doesn't talk that much, and he's very calm. He just has like one little bag. You can tell he just likes to roam around a lot. But I can't get into like why he doesn't wear any shoes, man. It's like he's walking everywhere without shoes, man. He's just up in his fighting gear with his little tattered gi on and stuff. He has that one bag, and dude ain't wearing no shoes. I don't get that. But we know up in the other installments, like those other movies like Street Fighter Alpha Generation, he actually wears shoes and actually has like a decent set of clothes on. So in 2V2, Street Fighter 2V, which is a prequel to the movie, shows him wearing clothes. I guess he doesn't get that way until like after the movie, where he just wants to fight. He's interested more in fighting and just gaining more experience from people, and you know, knowing friends through the art of fighting. So we know that. But Ken would have to be my favorite character up in the animated movie because he is everywhere. We get a chance to see what his personality is like. You know, we know that he's a hothead up in the game from his different taunts and chants and stuff. But he is more of a hot-headed rebel up in the movie, man. And I want to say that the soundtrack for Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, pretty much captured the essence of Ken. Because I think the soundtrack wasn't done. No, the soundtrack wasn't done or used from the original Japanese audio tracks whatsoever. What Manga Entertainment did, the ones that licensed the anime, they used Sony Entertainment's music and got a chance to like let you see these different artists and hear from them. And you know, that's how I got interested in the rock, hip hop, jazz, R&B, all those different styles, man, especially rock. That's how I got introduced into those different genres of music. That's what I love about Street Fighter, because not that many animes can pull this off, especially licensed companies. They can't pull this off where they can use different tracks. You know, not using the Japanese tracks pisses off a lot of fans. But I think for Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, it pretty much was a hit or miss, and it was definitely a hit. Well, I was going to say miss, but it was definitely a hit. I love that. And the main song that I remember listening to, and I remember like from a particular scene that would be my favorite scene, would have to be when Ken is just cruising up in that red Porsche, man. Who doesn't remember that scene where he's up in Washington, D.C., and he's cruising in that Porsche getting ready to see his girlfriend, his fiance, and that song from I think the artist's name is Silverchair, and the song is called Israel's Son. Who doesn't remember that? It's probably playing up in the background. I hope I don't get in the WMG email or anything when I upload this video, so it'll be done successfully and I won't get in trouble for copywriting. But if you guys hear that song, that is a nostalgic song. We remember that song like when Ken, he's just cruising, looking all cool and stuff. Man, we remember that. And we also see that Ken is very wealthy too. He dresses differently. He has a different style. He doesn't just wear his red gi like Ryu wears that white gi. He has different clothes on and stuff. And he has more of a personal life than Ryu has. You know, he has more goals and achievements that he's working for. He wants to get married to his girlfriend Eliza. Wants to do different things, but he in a sense he's more focused on fighting Ryu again, because it seems like he's always waiting for Ryu to come around and meet up with him again. He's focused on that, and it seems like he's taken his art of fighting and he's used it to become successful in America, up in the US, because he's like I think he participated in different martial arts championships up in the US, and he's like one of the best in the world. And the only person that can compete with him is Ryu. I love that. And then I would have to say the back history of him and Ryu, they show that a lot. There are a lot of cutbacks between him and Ryu. And that back history, man, where they showed him training and stuff, and the dialogue that they used up in that particular scene, I enjoy a lot. Because it fits the US culture, man. I know a lot of animes, like the dialogue is used to accommodate the Western culture over here in the US. They did that perfectly. In Street Fighter, I would have to say there are no cultural boundaries. Like, there are things that can be said for most of the characters. You know, they're diverse in their own way. We have a lot of characters that represent Japan, China, the US, Brazil, different spots on the world. So there are no cultural boundaries in Street Fighter, and I think that's why the dialogue and the soundtrack fits it perfectly. And I think why Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, got such a good reception is because it's a good video game. Street Fighter 2 was a good video game. It hit hard up in the arcades. It wasn't until Street Fighter 2 that it became such a huge success. Part 1 didn't really do that good, but Part 2, it pretty much set in stone that arcades are not to be taken lightly, that they can make you a lot of cash. A lot of cash. And that's what that was one of Capcom's, and like that will always be Capcom's heavy hitter. Street Fighter 2, the arcade games, man. A lot of quarters were put out. Now let me just get more into like the actual story and stuff. I don't want to go too in depth with it because I'll start spoiling stuff, and some of you guys haven't seen it. I suggest you go see this movie. You know, I like how they introduced all my characters. Characters got good, decent screen time. We got a chance to see Zangief and Blanca go at it. We also got a chance to see Ken go at it with T-Hawk. And they showed a funny scene with who was that? Dalcine and E Honda, which was funny. And then we got a chance to see what they could do and how their personalities were. We see that Dalcine is a more serious character, which I thought he was evil up in the game. You know, I thought the whole witch doctor thing was kind of evil, but we get a sense that he is a good moral character. You know, he's very like monk-like. That's what he basically is. He's like a monk. You know, he can sense different energy levels. We got a chance to see that. And Bison, we got to see how menacing he was, and how he was just the boss hog of all these different fighters, and how he gained control over them. And he was just astonishing, man. He was a force to be reckoned with, for real. And we got to see him be in charge of Sagat, Balrog, and Vega, which would have to be another one of my favorite fighters, and one of those hard to use charge fighters of Street Fighter. Got a chance to see him in action with Chun-Li, which I enjoyed a lot. You know, Chun-Li, she would have to be on the scene, and Gao too, they were on the scene for the most part too. No character was neglected. You know what I'm saying? Love the fight at the end with Ryu, Gao, Ken, and who else was up in there? E Honda and Balrog. Love that fight. Love the dialogue, man. But one of the favorite parts of this animated movie, I think people will remember the most, the one that had the most lasting appeal, is when Ryu is training on that mountain with that particular song playing. Now, Sony, they used a lot of tracks for their artists, you know. They used a lot of tracks. They used like Smoking Suckers with Logic's track. They used, who was that? Allison Chain's track. But they used original tracks too that fit this the anime. The one track that I'm getting into would have to be that track that has Ryu climbing the mountain and getting on top of that mountain, and you know, just harnessing his energy and like training and trying to hone his skills and doing the shoryuken and those other techniques. That track will always have to be a memorable track for me because it fit Ryu. And I've downloaded that OST. You guys know how I am with my OSTs, man. I'm like a poster child, man. Just think about it. I'm EsperReview, and I'm an OST junkie, you know. I really enjoy those OSTs, especially for that anime, man. But I didn't want to dawdle on too long. I just wanted to you know, just talk about it a little bit. Probably, you know, try to bring back some nostalgic moments. Sorry for this, you know, this video being kind of fumbly. I know I fumbled on my words a lot because I was trying to get out as much as I could and very fast before people came over and you started hearing noise up in the background. But yeah, Street Fighter 2, the animated movie. Check it out. You will love it. And you guys that do love it, you guys can relate to what I'm talking about. It is a classic. It will always have to be one of the best animes adapted from a video game of all time. We've seen it done for different other animes, but this right here was one of my first and will always be one of my favorite animes, especially with fighting. Classic, man. But this is your boy EsperReview. I'm signing out and I will see you guys later. Street Fighter for the motherfucking win.